Oh my God, I'm live. I'm on my channel now. Can you go and share me? I'm here with Larice.
Hey.
And we were just talking
Doing it on
about
your
the
phone?
X-Files. I'll do it with my phone. And we were just talking about the X-Files.
Did you tweet it?
Familiar. And
Yes.
can you tweet it for me? Go on and tweet that I'm live. And
I
people.
thought you were going to Periscope.
And I was talking about food, right? So people wanted to know about food because they're like, I think we'll also do a separate blog video about food. So
Oh my God, this photo.
that's what I'm doing. And Larice is going to share this. And oh, I got somebody watching. And let me tell you, when I travel, it's more about the food than anything else, right? I get very serious about my food. And as we all should, right? The only problem with this feed, I don't think I can read comments. So maybe you should pull it up over there. I could read the comments over there. So we get off the plane in LA. And for me, the only reason to go to LA, oh yeah, I do see the comments. Okay. The only reason for me to go to LA is to get tacos and margaritas. So we go to a taco joint. We go to Tico's Tacos, not too shabby. A little more American for my taste. I really like street tacos, right? So we had some good tacos. Thank you, Ellie, for picking us up and taking us to get some tacos. And then we went downtown to Cat and Dean. What was it, Cat and Dean, was it? And we went and got some margaritas and other drinks. I had a mango shot. It was just like a mango puree and tequila in a mini martini glass. If you go to my Instagram to see the pictures. And I had like a rim of pepper, right? So that was LA. And then we did breakfast at Marmalade. Oh, that was good. I had some good breakfast at Marmalade. I had some pancakes and had some eggs Benedict, right? You know. So then we get on the plane. We go to New Zealand, right? We go to New Zealand, and New Zealand it is actually just a beautiful place. The people were great. Kia ora, right? As soon as you get off the plane, they say kia ora, and that's basically the Maori language for you're welcome. And the whole country has kind of embraced this you're welcome, you know, kia ora, this we're all one family kind of thing, right? So we get out there, and we're too early to check into our Airbnb, so we go get some food downtown. We drive around, we get some snacks, and we find this little wharf that's like a gentrified restaurant row, bars and shops and all this stuff. And we find a little seafood place. Now, we're not that hungry. We just get some appetizers, but we get some feta and olives and hummus and some ginger beer. We weren't drinking, although I really wanted a glass of wine, but I was half asleep and I was driving, so that would have been terrible. We go check in. Next morning, we pick up Maya. We got Kathy, Maya, Larissa, and I in the car now. We drive down to Hamilton, right? And we find a place. What was that place called? Do you remember the name of the place in Hamilton?
I don't even know where Hamilton
something
is.
Kitchen. That's a cute picture. Something Kitchen. The River Kitchen, I think it was called, in Hamilton, right? And we had an amazing, very British breakfast. But man, I don't like British food, but man, can they do breakfast. And some baked eggs with some really spicy chorizo. And then we went over to the Haka that night. Now the food, I didn't love it. It was really well. The chicken was good, a little institutional for my taste at the Maori village, and but 2 days later we had some good food. Oh, there's an Italian place in Mata Mata, about a block away from me. Pick up the bus to Hobbiton. That place is great, really good food. It had a pork belly. Pretty British as Italian food goes. Pork belly with some applesauce and some mashed potatoes, kind of. Not the most Italian food restaurant, but it was, it's pork belly. So who are you going to do, right? So then I go the next morning before driving back to Auckland. We kind of go back to Rotorua, but we stop at the cheese farm, the dairy, whatever that place is called in Mata Mata. Again, about 5 minutes drive, not even east of downtown Mata Mata on the main road, going the other way from Hobbiton, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes from Hobbiton. And boy, that might be the best breakfast I ever
What
had.
happened to your shirt? You need to throw that shirt away.
Yeah, I got holes, I got stains.
That's a huge
I
hole.
eat a lot. It's a big hole?
This whole...
What? Oh, under here?
Yeah.
All right. Oh my God, that's a huge hole. So
I need that shirt.
we had
to
omelet,
stick
but they had a
down.
cheese
It needs to go in the
plate.
trash.
Boy, this cheese plate, let me tell you what. They had some brie, some camembert, this blue cheese, and they had a feta, but almost didn't taste like feta. It was so creamy, it almost didn't taste like a feta. I mean, it was definitely a feta, but it was just like the best feta you've ever had, And just had enough like bitter quality that a feta should have, in a good way, and with little some grapes and some nuts. Oh man, their nut mix was delicious. Let me tell you, gotta love my nuts. And anyway, I could go on and on, but the food down under was great, and we found great pizza. We did New Zealand. Just to wrap up, we did New Zealand. We did in addition to the concert, we saw David. Drove all around New Zealand, all around Auckland. So we saw Auckland, a lot of harbor. It's like San Francisco a little bit, but with a bay on both sides because it's like this long, thin island, right? So you see a bay on both sides and a lot of seafood. Saw some glowworms in a cave, and you ride a boat. And then we went to Hobbiton, take pictures where they shot the movie Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies, and have a little beer at the Green Dragon rather, Bag's End. Pretty cool place. Rotorua, where you got the geysers. The whole country has like a lot of geothermic activity. Hot springs, went swimming in a spring water fed pool. They had a little private pool from the hot spring. And that was cool, except it was a little nasty. And if you can tell, I still have a little pimple. And the water from the hot spring just kind of made a breakout. It was kind of gross, right? So, blah, 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 blah. And then we just drove up the coast. We had Papamoa. Oh, man, the beach of Papamoa is great. South of Tauranga. And then the drive back, scary as heck, but entertaining. Very curvy mountain road, a lot of curvy. And I'm driving on the left. I did it once before, drove an RV on the left for 2 weeks. On the right side of the road, but rented in London, so on the right side of the car, so always kind of veering to the left a little bit because it's the perception's off a little bit. And then we get on a plane, we go to Australia. Now, New Zealand was so awesome that I didn't love Melbourne. Melbourne is not a bad place, but I think it's more of a younger meat market kind of place. At least that's how I got. Like, we went to the night market, and there were some families, and there's like all this kind of stuff going. The flea market downtown, they open Wednesday nights, and they had some bands, had some music, but a lot of douchebags. It was like a meat market kind of feel. It was like Pier 13 in Hoboken, and not in a good way, And in a good way, they had meat, what do you call it? Food trucks rather, or like food stands, or like food truck quality, good gourmet food truck quality. Had some good barbecue, believe it or not. But Melbourne was very much like Texas. Felt like, I don't know, in some ways in a good way, some ways not in a good way. But best part of Melbourne, we get in a van, 8 of us in a van, and we drive west about 3 hours to Peterborough. And we do the Great Coastal Road. And there's cliffs, right? And you just see these massive cliffs and crashing waves into isolated beaches that nobody could swim on because you can't get to them because it's down at the bottom of this cliff. And I don't think you can get a boat in there too close because there's so many rocks, right? It's kind of like amazingly primordial, it just left the way it's been other than for erosion for years. And it's certainly part of the London Arch had fallen at some point, but purely because of erosion, not because of usage by man. And then you go down, there's a little town where you get in the water, went swimming in Arctic. It's freezing water because it's fed from the Arctic, right? And then you just swim along, and then we almost hit a couple kangaroo. We drive around the corner, and just 15 feet away from me, there's a kangaroo right there. I almost smacked right into it with the car. Stopped short, it comes right up the cliff, And then you're driving all these windy roads, just scary windy roads, and there's a cliff above you, there's a cliff below you, and there's just enough room to like stay on the road. And it's a little scary because again, I'm driving on the left, they drive on the wrong side of the road there, wrong side of the car, and it's a little freaky. So not terrible, but a little freaky. So we find all kinds of crazy little nooks and crannies, and drove in the rainforest a little bit. Must have been 8 hours behind the wheel in a 16-hour day. It stopped just enough to do some swimming. Most people just kind of waded their feet in the water. I went swimming. It was freezing, but loved it. It woke me up. Got some good food, good fish and chips, had a good salad, had a good pizza, believe it or not. In Lorne, there's a pizza joint right next to the RV campsite. And these guys, they must be from Italy because they know how to make some pizza. Had a calzone with roasted pumpkin and vegetables, a vegetarian calzone that was just one of the best calzones I've ever had. It was delicious. So we go to Sydney, and Sydney, I really love Sydney. I didn't love the touristy stuff at Sydney. I wish I'd just gone on the boat and just went around the bay, because Sydney by boat is gorgeous and beautiful. The zoo was okay, you know, but we had a day, we were up in Ryde, which is a northern suburb, which is just like Ireland, like the North Ryde, right? They even had the North Ryde. Great. What I love about Sydney, I didn't find a bad neighborhood in Sydney. Like every suburb in Sydney was freaking amazing. Just really nice. We even went to a nice mall. We almost went and saw a movie. It was something, but like, I don't know, we can't see a movie right now, right? But Larry's? Oh, Minnie? Oh, the cat's right there. Oh, sorry. Or there's a ghost. So we found a breakfast joint, Dining and Company. It's called. It's in Ryde. Look it up if you're in Sydney. Look it up, and they're going international. Is their plan? It was, I think, Japanese, maybe Chinese operated, but they really had the best. Again, maybe better than the breakfast in New Zealand. I've had 2 or 3 good breakfasts already. This might have been better. They had French toast, and they had this really good vanilla cream, like a marzipan or something. They had maple syrup in a syringe that you could just put drops on, because you really didn't need much. You really didn't need it at all. They had a pistachio crisp, they called it, or pistachio crumb. So they ground pistachio down almost to powder form, and then added some confectionery sugar and crumbled it up. So basically you had all these crumbles of pistachio flavored confectionery sugar, but it wasn't just flavored. It was actual pistachio nut and confectionery sugar, and then it just added this crisp, right? And then all kinds of berries. Had like a raspberry aioli and coulis or something like that, with raspberries, strawberries, blueberries. I mean, it was the crazy, amazing French toast, right? They had a pancake with like a banana Foster banana in there, some nuts, and then they had just the best eggs Benedict with salmon ever as well. We had two and a half breakfasts here. We took to go. We sat down twice. Amazing place to have breakfast. So up in Newcastle, we had an amazing time. Now Newcastle, if you haven't been to Newcastle, if you're looking for just a good place to get away and hang out on a beach, go to Newcastle, Australia. The Bar Beach in Newcastle, Australia might be my new favorite beach town in the world, and I've been to quite a few. And I was in the water for almost 3 hours. It's just beautiful water. It's clean. There's some rocks, and apparently, you know, they got enough rocks out there. There's not a lot of threat of riptide, so the rocks kind of break it up. So you have some pretty big swells, but it's not pulling you out, you know. And you can swim in some deep water out there, and they got a few crashers. Not great body surfing, but there were surfers, and then they had like this school of surfers, and just had, you know, maybe 40 kids going out 5 at a time, swim, going back and forth every 2 or 3 minutes. It was hilarious. And must have had 40 kids, like 8 to 12 years old, not old at all, right? So then, where did we go from there? We went to Brisbane. And at this point, we've seen a couple kangaroos. In the zoo, we saw a few. We go to Brisbane, we do the concert. We fly to Brisbane the same night we see David Duchovny in concert. It's our 6th concert in 2.5 weeks. Not even 2.5 weeks. About 2.5 weeks, maybe. As we're away for 20 days, and I guess 16 days we're over there, right? And we go to this place called the Lone Pine, and had a great breakfast at the hotel. The Eaton Hills Hotel in Brisbane has this continental breakfast, and I don't think I've ever had passion fruit like that outside of an ice pop or a juice before. I'd never seen passion fruit. I must have had 4 or 5 passion fruit, you know, 6 or 8 halves, 10 halves, I don't know, in the course of 2 mornings. They're delicious. And kiwi, watermelon, cantaloupe. I had such healthy breakfast. And then they had a honeycomb. Go to my Instagram. You can all see it, at Walt Frazier. They had a honeycomb. And dripping into a little dish, and you'd have a croissant, just drizzle fresh honey right from the honeycomb into your croissant or toast, whatever you had. And they had like a couple different croissants, and I put a little honey on each one of them, and man, that was good. So we go to Lone Pine. Lone Pine is a reserve. Koala specifically, they have 130 koalas. I don't know how many. They must have a couple hundred kangaroos. There was a lot of kangaroos. And then other things. They had a wombat just walking around on a leash. Maya, if you don't know Maya, our friend Maya from Slovenia was with us, got that on film. That was amazing. I wish I'd seen it live. I saw her film. That was cool. But they let you take a picture with a koala. You get to hold it for a couple seconds. And you just stand there, and they put the koala in your arms, and then they take a picture. And, you know, it's one of those things in life. It's like once-in-a-lifetime kind of moments if you're not a zoologist, right? If you're not a naturalist. And just a really cool moment. Years ago, I got to hold a baby tiger at a similar kind of fundraising thing, right? And so just standing there with a koala, and all of our friends got behind me and took a picture. Again, go to my Twitter. You see all the pictures. And watch this while scrolling through my Facebook with all the pictures. And you know, go down and work your way up because they're in reverse order. And then we got to go feed some kangaroo. So they have this big, huge hill, right? Big yard on a hill. All fenced in. They have the double fence, you know, double doors, so you don't let anybody out. You have to go in one, then go in the other. And there's a kangaroo over there feeding her Joey. Mother feeding her the baby. Now, the Joey's pretty big. The Joey's probably at that stage where he's about this close to being cut off from eating from mom, right? Mom's still feeding the baby. He's almost maybe a third her size. He's a good size. He's a male, deep red, orange. The females are more grayish. She feeds him. Watch that about 5 minutes. I got a video of it on my Instagram. And then she gets done feeding him. He lies down. She comes over to us, and we got this food. You're allowed to feed the kangaroos. They sell you $2 a bag. And she just starts eating an entire bag of kangaroo food, which are basically pellets, the same, like if you're feeding rabbits. And you ever go to a petting zoo with ducks or goats or llamas, right? It's the same thing. So it's just, I don't know. It's one of those things, you know. I'm sure if you're from Australia, it's like, oh, another freaking kangaroo, right? But for me, my experiences with the kangaroos and the koalas were just, you know, that there are a lot of times when people, oh, you feel like you're around the world, the other side of the world. That's where I felt like I was in a different place because I've never seen anything like that except on TV and maybe in a zoo, but not that up close and personal by any means, right? Not even close. And I saw two in the wild, almost hit him with the car. And all of a sudden, I'm feeding one. And then the next day, or no, that same day, later that day, we go to an island, Stradbroke Island, and we're doing this amazing walk. It was one last chance to see some amazing cliffs and blowholes and beaches. They have something called the 90-mile beach or the 90-kilometer beach, whatever it is. And it is a beach as far as I can see. And as far as we could tell, there were 2 human beings on the whole beach because it's really hard to get to. And it just goes on and on and on and on. And takes all the way to the Gold Coast. And there's nobody. There's like one couple or 2 people, or male, female, I couldn't tell, right? And they're way down there. Like, I've never seen such a stretch of beach with nobody on it. Somebody said this was L.A., like you couldn't find a place to spit, right? It was such a beautiful beach. And we just walking around, and then there's like, we see 3 more kangaroo up on the hill, and 2, and then 1, and so we saw 5 in the wild. We saw hundreds up close and personal at this reserve. If I had seen a koala live in the wild, that would have been the only thing that I feel like I missed out on, right? But we saw so many amazing birds, and well, for most people that's annoying because they kept getting woke by magpies in the morning and kookaburras. No. Long story short, the things that scared me the most about going there, the crazy long airplane ride, flight, was manageable. we did 13 hours there, 12 hours back, New Zealand to LA, and then 5-6 hours, 3 hours here, 2 hours there, 1 hour there. We spent 44 hours in the air in 2.5 weeks, in 20 days. You know, so it's like a full-time job week of airtime in 2.5 weeks, right? But we got through it, and nothing tried to kill us. We didn't see any of the killer spiders. Never saw any of the huntsman spiders. Didn't see any of the snakes. Didn't see any of the. We're nowhere near where the snails and the box and the crocs are. Some of our friends saw a shark, but it was a baby. It kept getting bigger every time they told the story, but we survived it. And I would have to say, if you ever get the time, and if you want to know how to do it, we did spend a lot of money. I have to say, we stayed in Airbnbs at an average of $10 to $12 a person a night, $50-$60 a night most times, with 4 to 6 people splitting it, you know. And then we had a rental car, and we had gas. Gas was probably and tolls were probably more expensive than the car and the houses. But you add all that up, this great coastal road thing that we did. If you go through the tourist company, Viator, or one of those, they'll charge you $200 to get on a bus and go see this great coastal road with 30 other people on a bus, and you go all the way out, and you come all the way back, and $200 a person. We probably spent $200 total, and that's just the price of gas because we already had the rental car. You know, and we had 8 people in the car, and we took our time, and we really got up close and personal with nature. These amazing cliffs and waves and beaches and birds and wildlife. Saw a bunch of wild parrots flying around. 6 black parrots take off at one point, fly in formation across the path. At one point, a beautiful all white parrot flies right in front of the car. We're like, oh my God, that was like crazy amazing. You know, when you're from here, these are things you see on TV, at the zoo. There's some green parrots around here that are wild because somebody obviously released them into the wild by mistake at some point, but they're not natural. And you're like, oh, that's weird. So I want to thank all my friends. I want to thank everyone from David Duchovny's band and crew. I want to thank all of our hosts and the Airbnbs, all the people that run all those amazing restaurants. I can't believe I did Wollongong, the pizza place that's right on the beach in Wollongong. Wow, that place is great. I had a seafood pasta there. I tell you what, Australian calamari kicks some freaking ass. It tastes like pasta. Like the texture, it's not chewy at all. Anyway, I get sidetracked. Had an amazing couple weeks. I want to thank everyone involved that made it possible. And yeah, I could go on forever because I'm a sap, but I think that's enough of it. Hey guys, if you're watching this, what the fuck is wrong with you? No, I'm sorry. Thank you, and see you next time.